Okay, good morning guys. I'm out here in my shop and I'm going to do this morning I'm going to do some short videos on how to assemble the GarageWorks CNC. This is the 24 by 18 model. As you can see, I've completely disassembled it. Every nut and bolt and everything is out of it. We'll go through and I won't do one big long video of how to put the whole thing together, but I'll do a bunch of short videos so when you go back to watch these, you don't have to worry about where in a long video a certain part is. We'll break it down into little segments. But anyway, the tools that you will need to assemble this thing are really simple. I have a couple of different length Phillips screwdrivers. It really helps if they're magnetic, just because it just does. It helps keep the things from falling off. You also will need a 3/8 wrench to tighten the hex or the Keps nuts once you get everything assembled, and basically that's just kind of to go around and check the tightness, because as I mentioned before, with these Keps nuts, it's a serrated washer attached to the nut, and so when you get it up against the metal surface, it kind of grabs and lets you tighten it with just the Phillips screwdriver. And of course, the other thing you probably will need, at least I need it, is a cup of coffee. So we're going to get started. I'm going to move some of these parts out of the way, and we're going to start off assembling the base. Okay, I've removed all the parts that aren't going to be in this first step, and basically all you really need is the front channel, which is this one here that has the logo on it, but it doesn't have the motor mount holes. The rear channel, which has the logo on it with the motor mount holes. And then the three, I call them side channels. Actually, this is the one that goes in the middle, but to keep it simple, just so somebody wouldn't put this thing together and have this one that doesn't have holes in it, you know, and then go, oh crap, I put this one on the outside. I just went ahead and made all three of them the same, so you can't really grab the wrong one for the side. It doesn't really, they're all identical. It doesn't matter which one you put in the middle. But we're going to start off by putting attaching these three to the front channel using these 1024 by 1/2 inch machine screws, and of course these 1024 Keps nuts. Okay, that part's really pretty simple. Basically, you're just making this little frame. You know, you just put the two side panels with the channels facing inward, and this center channel here is just support. It doesn't really matter which way you flip-flop it around. It is symmetrical, so it won't make any difference. One thing you do want to try to do is, as you're tightening these up, you want to try to get this as flush as you can. That will help when you lay your table on here. Want to try to have this flush. The holes have enough play in them where you should be able to hold them up like this one and get that flush. Now, I put this thing together probably 3 or 4 times. I put it together a couple of times even before it was painted, and I figured out real quick that it's actually easier to leave this back one off until you get those side rails on and get your gantry sides assembled. So I'm going to show you how to mount the x-axis, or excuse me, the y-axis side rails right here. Okay, I've got the y-axis rails, and this is nothing more than a 4-inch wide piece of 16 gauge mild steel, which is what the V-groove bearings roll on as it's as it's moving. And there's just holes on here to match exactly the holes that are on this side panel right here. Now, I will mention that this rail does stick above and below the C channel. The C channel is formed to have a 3.5 inch ID. This is 4-inch OD here. Or did I say ID? Yeah, 3.5 inch OD. And this is a 4-inch OD here. So you really need to have this propped up. And what I've done is I've provided the just some carriage nuts to use as simple leg levelers. So if you want, you can go ahead and put those in right here in the front. And it's just nothing more than a carriage bolt, 3/8/16 carriage bolt with a nut, a big washer, and you can just stick that in the hole that should be at the bottom of your front channel. And you can put a nut on there. You don't really have to tighten this down right now. You can adjust this later. But just to get this sticking up a little bit. And I'm not even going to run this nut all the way down. I'm just threading it on there a little bit, because that'll all be adjusted later to get the whole table leveled out. Now you're going to need something to prop this back end up, and again the rear channel is what has the holes in it for the leg leveler. So what I've done is I just took something, I've got those sticking up probably about 1.5 inches, so I just cut me some little blocks of 3/4 plywood, and for a temporary thing during assembly I just prop those up under there just to get that up in the air a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to attach the Y-axis rails. Okay, I'm going to attach the Y-axis rails, and as you can see, it's just holes that match up to the holes that are in this side seat channel here. So you just stick one in there and stick it in one of the holes and run a little nut on it here just to hold it, and take one and go down to the other end and put one on there, and then it's just a matter of putting one in a screw and a nut in each one of these holes here. And there are lots of holes. I think they're spaced like 3.5 inches apart, but that's to keep this nice and snug against this so that there's no flex in it. Okay, once you get all the screws and nuts, and I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning of that clip or not, but if I didn't, these are also 10/24 by 1/2 inch machine screws with the Keps nut. You're only going through a piece of 16 gauge and 11 gauge, so 1/2 inch is plenty of thread. So once you get all those, get the nuts kind of on there and get all of them put in, you can go back around with your wrench and your Phillips screwdriver and go ahead and get those tightened up and secured, because you shouldn't really have to be coming back and fooling with those anymore.